Hello, my name is Will, and I'm here to play some Minecraft. I don't really know how to get into this. I haven't really prepared anything. I'd rather just kind of just speak from the heart and instead of preparing something to say. Um, but see, today is February 7th, 2025. Um, this past Wednesday, February 5th, I woke up to discover my dog Chrissy, who I've talked about. You've heard her in the background. Um, I woke up to find her. So Tuesday, I went grocery shopping and I let her go with me just because she likes to ride. Um, and I noticed whenever I was leaving, she jumped in the car, which she used to do all the time when she was younger. But here lately, she's gotten to where she couldn't do it. I'd have to pick her up and put her in the car because she just couldn't. She just wasn't capable. But Tuesday she was. She went running towards the car, opened the door, and she just jumped right in. And I was like, wow, she's feeling good. She's in a really good mood and she's feeling good. She's acting like her old self. And thought it was great. Went to the grocery store, of course, left her in the car. And of course, it wasn't hot or anything. This is February, and it wasn't really cold. It was probably in, I don't know, 50s, 50-degree ish weather, Fahrenheit. And you know, was in the store for maybe half an hour, just getting some this and that, and came back out to the car, put my groceries in the car, drove home. And as I was driving home, I noticed she was just kind of laying down in the back seat. Normally, she's in the front seat with me, and she wants me to put the window down so she can hang her head out the window. And as dogs do, they stick their head out the window. But she didn't. She was laying in the back seat, but she didn't seem to be nothing. Nothing seemed wrong. She was just kind of laying there, kind of looking around. But then I got back home and I opened the door, and usually she knows, like, as I'm pulling in the driveway, she'll get in my lap as I'm parking, and then I open the door and she jumps out. And she didn't. She stayed in the back seat. So I got out and I opened the back door so she could get out that way, and she didn't. She just looked at me. Um, and so I was like, okay, she'll get out when she's ready. I don't know, you know, what's going on, but I took the groceries in, took a couple of trips to do that, and I came back and she was still laying there in the back seat. So I picked her up and I set her on the ground on her, on her feet, and she just stood there and she kind of trembled and she looked like she was in pain. Again, this was less than an hour after she had run and jumped into the car, feeling good. But she just stood there and wouldn't move. She just stood in one spot. So I picked her up and I brought her in the house. And she has a little bed that's actually right here. I still haven't moved it. Um, but I put her in her little bed and I put her water next to her. And I was like, hey, drink some water. She wouldn't. And and slowly she just started getting worse and worse. Um, her breathing was very labored, very shallow, and very fast and rapid. Then when that night came around, it was time for me to go to bed. I put her in bed with me, and I actually just laid there with her, kind of spooning her, if you will, and just kind of petting her, and actually playing uh, Minecraft music. I just went on YouTube and found one of those channels that just plays like relaxing Minecraft music, and we laid there. I petted her, and I thought, she had been worse off before, and turned out she just ate something she shouldn't have or whatever, and she always bounced back, and and actually kind of felt a little bit better. She was laying there next to me, and then at one point she got up, and I have these steps that go up to my bed from the floor that she can go up and down. She went down the steps and out in the hallway, where I had a little pad for her in case she needed to go to the bathroom, because I would take her outside and she just wouldn't. 'Cause I don't think she could squat down to do it, to be honest. I tried to hold her, and she just wouldn't. So I left her a pad there, uh, thinking, okay, I'll see how she is in the morning. If she's not better, then I'll take her to the vet. Um, and then I woke up in the morning, Wednesday morning, and she was laying in the hallway. I didn't think too much of it at first. I was kind of like, I was a little bit like, okay, this is the moment of truth. I really didn't think, I thought it would be like, okay, she's going to be better, like bounce back better, or she's going to be in pretty much the same shape. What I really didn't expect, I mean, there was a part of me that did, but what I really didn't expect was what I found. It was a horrible sight. And her ear, she's got floppy ears. She's a Cocker Spaniel. Her ear was over her eyes. So I started petting her, thinking, I'll slowly wake her up so she doesn't jerk awake. She didn't wake up. I picked her ear up off of her eye, and that's when I knew. Her eyes were open, but they were just staring off and completely vacant. I knew she was gone then. And I got a cardboard box, put a blanket in it, put her in it, called my mom. My mom came to pick me up. We went to the next town over that has a place that will cremate pets, and I've never done that before. So we took her there. That's where she's at now. I still haven't gotten the ashes back yet, but anyway, that's where I'm at now. So today, I know I've been yakking about that. What's that got to do with this? Well, I feel like I want to make a little memorial for Chrissy. And right now, I'm in the game. I'm struggling to figure out how to make a stone cutter, and I will eventually get there. Um, but this is rough. I mean, I started recording Minecraft videos for this channel back in March of last year, 2024, like mid March. And I made like 2 or 3 videos, the first 2 or 3 episodes of this series. I didn't upload them though because I thought, well, I'll get a little bit of a back catalog, make a few videos. That way I can stay ahead of it. And there I am trying to figure out how to make a stone cutter. Um, and So I made like 2 or 3 videos, and then, of course, again, this was last year in March, and then the 5th of April, my father passed away. And as far as YouTube goes, I was like, okay, I didn't record anymore. I didn't play any more Minecraft. I didn't upload any of those videos. I just let it sit until this past December when I started thinking, okay, I feel like I can do this now. Still not, I mean, still hurts, still grieving, but a more manageable grief. I was like, okay, I can do this now, and I wanted to do it. I felt not only like, okay, I can do this. I was like, I'm starting to feel like I want to do this again. So I started doing it again, and here we are. What, this is episode 8. So I've done like I did like 2 or 3 before. I think 3 before my dad passed back in March, and then like 3 or 4 um, back in December and up into January. And then here we are now, and my dog has passed away. And I've had this dog. I got her really soon after I bought my house. I bought my house in 2010. And, I'm out in the country. I have a nice big yard. There's not a lot of traffic through here. And people that do drive through here, it's on a little country road. They know that there are dogs around here. So they know to go slow. And the dogs know to stay out of the road for the most part. So I thought this is a perfect time to get a dog. And so I was kind of thinking I would get a lab or a golden retriever or something like that. And a friend of mine at work, I was a 911 dispatcher at the time. He had a dog that he had to rehome because he was moving to another apartment where they couldn't have pets. And so I told him, I said, "Hey, I'll keep her for, a couple of weeks or whatever until you find a permanent home for her." And he was like, "That's great." And then a couple of weeks later, I told him, "Don't bother looking. Don't bother looking for another home for her. She is home. This is home. She's mine now. I'm in love with her, and I want to keep her forever." And she's a little black cocker spaniel. And I'm going to try to put some photos up. Yes, I quit the game there. I'm telling you guys, grief. That's kind of why grief. That's why I didn't want to talk about this as I was playing, because I want to be able to uh, divide my attention away from the game and just talk. But I want to talk about grief, like real loss grief. And I think people who haven't really experienced a real loss, um, they think grief is just extreme sadness. And yes, that does definitely play a part. But there's so much more that people don't really talk about that happens when you're grieving. Um, the inability to concentrate, just the inability to just kind of just function normally. Um, I mean, you guys have seen I do a lot of dumb stuff in this game, and it's not because I'm dumb. It's because I mean, since my dad passed, it's there. It's always somewhere in my head. And if even if it's not in the forefront, the exhaustion of it always being somewhere floating around in my head and never really being able to put it down, it's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. Um, and so it makes it hard to function mentally. And and also there's a real physical discomfort in grieving. Um, on top of just being really tired, feeling like I just want to sleep. constantly. And this isn't a poor pitiful me. This isn't me looking for any kind of sympathy at all. This is me wanting to talk about grief because it's important that people people need to have an open dialogue about grief. And I think a lot of the times we don't. We we grieve in private. Um, we hide our grief from people because we don't want to bother people with our problems in general. Um, but I think it's important that we talk about grief because it's well, for one thing, it's not a universal experience. Everybody experiences it differently. My mom talks about what's called, I think it's called like widow's brain, right? When my dad passed, my mom noticed like she could not focus, she couldn't concentrate, couldn't think clearly, still can't. I'm the same way. I'm sure my two sisters are too, and I'm sure everyone who has experienced grief in their life knows that part of it. I think everyone, to some extent, goes through that. The inability to stay focused, um, to not lose track of, you know, what what was I just doing, right? Even now, just trying to articulate what I'm trying to say is difficult. Um, but beyond that, there's a real physical discomfort. There's the tiredness, the sleepiness that just doesn't go away. Um, the, and a lot of that is probably depression too. But beyond that, there's an I feel an ache, and people talk about heartache. I don't know, maybe that's what they're talking about, but it's a full body aching. I feel a jitteriness, like my hands, and you can probably see in this video too that my hands are shaking, right? I mean, and it's not because I'm nervous about making the video. I've made 7 of these videos, 8, and now 9, really. And it's not that. It's constant. And the sadness comes and goes. The rest of it is pretty much there all the time. And I felt guilty for the past couple of days. And I talked to my cousin yesterday, and I told her, I said, I don't know why, but I'm having a harder time dealing with the death of my dog, Chrissy, more than I did with my dad. It's hitting me harder that she's gone than it hit me that he was gone. And she told me something that made a lot of sense, made me feel a little less guilty about grieving harder over a dog than grieving over my dad. And she told me a couple of things. She said, well, you're still grieving over your dad. So it's not that you're grieving more over Chrissy than your dad. It's that the grief of losing Chrissy is piled on top of the grief of losing dad. So it just compounds that grief. A lot of times it's harder, it hurts more to reopen a pre-existing wound. It's more painful to reopen a pre-existing wound than it is to just get the initial wound, the initial cut. And I think that's probably true emotionally. It seems to be. And I'm no expert on grief and on psychology or anything. This is just my experience. This is me basically just venting, just getting out what I need to get out to try and make sense of all this. But then she also told me that maybe I am grieving a little harder over my dog than my dad. But that could be because I feel a sense of responsibility towards my dog. You know what I mean? I am my dog's caretaker. I am responsibility for my dog's well-being. I was never responsible for my father's well-being. I am not his caretaker. Um, my mother was his caretaker. He had dementia, uh, and she did a fine job. She did a great job. I mean, he wasn't like, people talk about dementia. He wasn't to the point where he didn't know who people were. He knew who everybody was. His mind was pretty much, if you didn't know him, you would just think, well, that's kind of an odd fella. But if you did know him, as we did, obviously, we could tell his personality was a bit off. He could be cranky and irritable and argumentative, um, as happens with dementia. But anyway, so this episode, if you haven't figured it out yet, I am making a little memorial for Chrissy. I thought for a second about doing one for Dad, but that just seems weird. It just seems weird and inappropriate. This is my dog. I don't know. I don't know why it seems okay to do this to memorialize my dog, but it doesn't seem okay to do it for my dad. I don't know. Something about it just doesn't sit right with me, so I'm just making this for Chrissy. So yeah, here I have polished some diorite to make a little headstone there. Um, and a little cobblestone outline, which I actually really like. I kept trying to make signs here, but the signs just didn't, I don't know, they weren't working for me. So anyway, about Chrissy. Chrissy was 15 years old, or not quite. She would have turned 15 this year. She was born in 2010, and I think August. I don't know. Again, I she was, she'd been around for a few months by the time I got her. She was a few months old. Um, yeah, I'm experimenting with signs here, and I'm not, as you will see, I'm not really thrilled with the way the signs turn out on the headstone itself. I think it just kind of makes it look ugly. She was born and she was about 14. That's a pretty good stretch for a dog, really. Um, it's not a long, long life, but it's about average. Um, she was the sweetest, sweetest, sweetest thing. She loved people, all people. She would walk up to a total stranger, even before I would, a lot of dogs would be like, okay, that person's okay if if my human says they're okay. You know, she wouldn't even check with me. She'd just be like, "Oh, a person," and just run up to them. Sometimes it was people I didn't even know. It'd be total strangers, and I have to be like, "Sorry." But everybody who met her loved her. She was incredibly sweet. Um, she did not like if I gave other dogs attention or if other dogs tried to get attention from me. She was very jealous of other dogs. Um, Now she would play fine with them for the most part. That took a little while for her to learn because I don't think she was very socialized with other dogs before I got her. But I worked with her, and there were some dogs that she would do pretty good around, really, as long as I wasn't around. So if I would, I mean, out in the country, I could open the front door and let her out and, let her back in an hour later. But during that time, she would play with the other neighborhood dogs. And okay, I am back. Um, Sorry about that. It's a couple of days later. Um, I got to where I couldn't do it anymore, and I had to get off here for a while, and I was getting too emotional. And but anyway, this is I changed the orientation. I wanted to be able to look straight at this, not have it looking off to the side. So I changed that. Um, Named this Chrissy's Garden. Um, oh, there's something I need to still do. There was dirt at the bottom of this tree, and I want to try something. I've never tried this, but I think you can. Yeah, yeah. I reoriented this. I got some shears, and I sheared some leaves off a tree. I put some torches back here. I was kind of hoping it would help backlight. It doesn't really do much though. Um, but this is it. This is my little memorial for Chrissy. Made a little gateway out of fences. I did do a little bit of research for this. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I guess I might as well do this while I'm here. But yeah, Chrissy, I'm 43, about to turn 44. Um, I'm not married. I don't have any kids. Never been married. Um, I may get married at some time, but the opportunity for kids is slipping away. Those days are getting behind me. So Chrissy is the closest thing to family I have, and she was very much family. I mean, there's no doubt about that. She's definitely my family, but she's the closest thing I have to a child of my own. And I don't want to compare uh, actually losing a child to losing a pet. I'm not going to do that. And I don't want anyone to think that's what I'm insinuating, that they're in any way um, the same. I'm just saying I've lived in this house for nearly 15 years, and that entire time, it's just been me and Chrissy. It's just been the two of us, except for, with the exception of a short while, I let a friend and his wife move in with me when they were in a transition period. That was like, I don't know, for like a couple of months. But other than that, it's just been me and Chrissy here. And but anyway, I know this isn't a fun video. I know this is a video that'll get very few views. It may turn some people off completely to my channel, and that's fine. But it's something I wanted to do and to talk about because oh gosh, what the heck is this? What in the world is that? I don't want to deal with. Okay, let's just go to bed. And now I forgot what I was saying. Well, that's something new. I don't know what those are, but they're burning up, or seem to be burning up. Okay, well that was different. I've completely forgotten what I was saying now. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Chrissy. Oh, there's that guy. Great. Okay, maybe I should just go inside because this is, or maybe I should just quit this whole thing because I've done the thing I wanted to do. I made the memorial. I showed you guys the memorial. I talked about Chrissy. I talked about grief. And this is going to be a short episode, but who wants to sit and listen to somebody boo-hoo over their dead dog for an hour? So, but it's something I wanted to do for my own sake, um, and because really, honestly, I was really looking forward to Chrissy being kind of the mascot of my channel, right? I always love when people have their pets um, be a part of their YouTube channel and they show their pets off to their viewers. And I just wanted to do that with Christy. I'm not gonna get that opportunity. So, but anyway, thank you all very much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. The next episode's gonna be a lot more fun, um, less self-indulgent as this one was, and we'll get back to um, quote unquote normality on this channel starting next week. Promise. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. I will see you very soon, the next installment of Minecraft. Have a great day.